It's time to fire this thing up.
Welcome aboard ShipShape TV Essentials. This is your port of call for the most impactful upgrades, expert advice, and hands-on solutions from seasons past. This episode is proudly brought to you by SureHold, because anything worth doing is worth doing bright. From cleaning to protecting and perfecting, SureHold has everything you need to keep your boat shining. Don't just go boating, go showboating. Now, let's hoist anchor and set a course for another exciting episode of ShipShape TV Essentials.
If boating's your game, then you'll agree. ShipShape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, ShipShape means trouble-free. ShipShape means being neater. ShipShape makes boat work easier. ShipShape is the way to go. The ShipShape Boat Care Show.
ShipShape, South Florida's only boat improvement show, is being brought to you in part by Boat Owners Warehouse, Everything Marine, and by Cable Marine, where our qualified people make the difference, and by RPM Diesel Engine Company, much more than an engine company, and by Yacht Interiors by Shelley. When extra is needed, extra is given.
Thanks for tuning in to ShipShape, the boat improvement show. I'm John Greviskis, and this is my partner, Burt Dell.
Howdy, folks.
As you recall, a few weeks back, Burt and I started the process of putting an engine bracket on the back of this 25-foot Whitewater.
We started off at Armstrong Nautical Products Factory and showing you how the bracket was actually built.
Then we de-rigged the back of the transom, clearing it out so that Tom at Armstrong could form a custom template to accommodate our unique curvature on the back of our transom.
While inspecting our transom to make sure it was strong enough to accommodate the bracket and both engines, we decided to lay out our boat a little differently.
We have a couple of oil reservoirs that we want to move forward to underneath the center console. We're going to put some insulated fish boxes in their place. Also, while we were in the bilge, we decided that a larger live well would make our boat fish a lot more efficiently.
Which brings us up to today, where we're going to be going over some fiberglass work and some different options we have when we go to re-rig our boat.
As always, if there's a suggestion that you'd like to see covered here at ShipShape, please write us a letter or send us a fax.
Write your project suggestions to ShipShape, the TV show. Attention Project Director, Post Office Box 31561, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida 33420. Or fax us at area code 407-626-4348.
And guys, the really cool thing about writing into the show is that if we use your suggestion on it, we're going to send you out a free t-shirt right to your house. But right now we need to hear a word from our sponsors. But you'll want to stick around because in about 90 seconds when Burt and I come back, we're going to get into some fiberglass action.
Don't drift away. ShipShape will be right back.
Do it all with a SureHold telescoping handle. Designed with the easy-to-use Sherlock quick-release system, compatible with over 50 different attachments, transforming it into a deck brush handle, squeegee handle, swivel pad base handle, chamois mop handle, camera handle, floor broom handle, boat hook handle, water blade handle, landing net handle, even a threaded handle for equipment you already own, and more. Fully telescopic for easy storage or adjusting to the perfect length. Each SureHold telescoping handle is proudly made in the USA and is truly the one handle that does it all. SureHold, clean and simple.
Welcome back. Now, Burt, what actually are we going to be doing here today?
Well, John, we're going to be cutting out where our oil reservoirs used to sit in these little boxes here, and this is where we're going to be making our fish box. I'm going to go ahead and cut them out with a Sawzall, and then I'm just going to sand the edges down nice and smooth.
So you're actually going to be doing a little bit of grinding here?
I'll be grinding this whole area, actually.
Now, what's the importance of that?
Whenever you do fiberglass work, you want to prepare your area. So you go ahead and you sand it down, get it nice and smooth, get all the impurities out of here.
And that gives it a real nice bonding surface?
Yes.
Now, what kind of tips would you give people on clothing?
You'll definitely want to wear some long clothes because the itch factor is way up there.
Now, what about safety equipment?
You want to wear a dust mask and some safety glasses.
Well, let's get into today's project.
There's several different tools you can use to cut fiberglass with, such as an air motor with a carborundum bit, or you can use electrical power tools, such as a skill saw, saber saw. We're going to be using the sawzall. You also want to remember to have safety glasses on and use a good quality desk mask, such as this 3M brand.
And remember guys, a lot of people like to do this project in their backyards. So if you have any observers like your kids, make sure that they're upwind. Burt, that box looks like it's part fiberglass and part wood. I'm seeing some sawdust coming up.
Oh yeah, this is an laminated part. You know, they just lay the glass up over the plywood. It's basically a lot of your boats now are going to foam.
Right.
But when the plywood when it stays dry, like these stringers, as long as they don't get saturated with glass laid over them, they are super strong.
And they'll last forever.
As long as you keep them dry.
Now that we have the boxes removed, it's time to start the grinding process. Again, it's a good idea to stay upwind whenever somebody's grinding around fiberglass. That dust will get on you and it will itch. Well, what we've done is we've taken a little break from the grinding process in order to make a custom drain tube for the bottom of our bilge. What I've got here is a 3.5-inch outside diameter PVC pipe. I've gone ahead and cut it to length, and I've split it in half to give us a custom drain tube. Let's take a look at how it fits in the bottom of our bilge. Burt, is that going to work?
John, I think it's going to work perfectly. We'll be able to drop our 2 bulkheads in. It'll have our boat drain very nicely, you know?
Hand that back up. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and make our forward bulkhead with the PVC pipe, using it as a template. What we're using here is 1/2-inch plywood for our forward bulkhead. I'm laying it out, and we've got 24 inches in between our stringers. So I've measured out 24 inches across. It's also 24 inches deep. And what I've done down here is I've used our PVC pipe as a template. We're going to cut around this so it'll fit real nice and snug. Also, we've got some unique curvature going on the bottom of the hull. So I've just kind of free-handed this out. What we're going to do is rough it in, and we'll make it perfect when we do the glass layup. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put us a couple of pilot lines here, so we can just go ahead and cut this out. Whenever you're dealing with cutting circles or arches or anything like that, it's always a good idea to do this. It's really no big deal. Just cut out a few to help take a little bit of the stress off the blade. Now let's see how our bulkhead fits. Burt, why don't we go ahead and put our drain pipe in?
Okay.
Now again, any void that we might have between our stringers and our bulkhead is really not that big of a deal, because we're going to fill it in with Cavasil.
All right, John, that looks like it fits nice. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and start waterproofing this bulkhead. You cut us another one.
Sounds great.
This week on Rules of the Road, we'll look at Florida's law on having monofilament line aboard your boat. Florida's the boating and fishing capital of the nation, and we have specialized laws to protect that title. Lawmakers decided that carelessly discarded fishing line is such a hazard to the marine environment that they created special laws for its proper handling. Monofilament fishing line must be safely kept on board, and waste line or netting must be disposed of in an onshore receptacle, not in the water. If you have line on your deck or gunnel like this, you may get a misdemeanor citation. Monofilament won't disintegrate over time and can be deadly to marine life, especially birds, sea turtles, and manatees that may ingest it or become entangled in it. It also doesn't do much good for boat propellers and cooling intakes, causing delays and sometimes costly repairs. You can keep a container on board for wasteline and other plastics and ask your tackle store if they'll recycle it. It doesn't take much time to cut down fishing line that's been carelessly left at your favorite fishing spot. This leaves our natural areas a little better than before, and you may save a marine animal's life. I'm Officer Christian from the Florida Marine Patrol. See you on the water.
Well, now we're ready to do our glass layup here. I've got us a 16 ounces of resin. I'm going to put about an 1/8 ounce of hardener and a resin. Go ahead and mix it up. This way it'll kick off. It's going to kick off rather quickly in this hot sun anyway. All right, John, I think I got the board covered fairly well.
Let's go ahead and lay this down, huh?
Right on top of it.
Okay.
Pull it to you just a little bit.
Okie dokie.
Again. Yeah, just a little bit.
How's that?
All right, that's good. That's plenty good right there.
So what, you're just rolling the resin right into the fiberglass?
You may remember doing basically about the same thing when we did Jupiter 31, me and
Right,
Nick.
when we were making the hatch.
Right, it's the same principle. Doing the same thing basically.
Well, Burt has quite a bit of glass work to do here at the boat. While he's doing that, I'm going to head on over to Boat Owners Warehouse and speak with our friend Larry Cooper. We want to look at some trim tabs as well as hydraulic steering and throttle controls because we're going back 30 inches. Good morning, Larry. How have you been?
Morning, John. How you doing this morning?
Real good.
What project are you guys working on today?
We're putting a bracket, an engine bracket, on the back of a 25-foot Whitewater. And we need to look into some options that we might have in the re-rigging process. You know, Larry, we're adding about 30 inches to the back of our boat, and so we're going to need to extend the lines and cables. I was wondering if you had any ideas.
Sure. I'll just show you what's new that's on the market, and we'll take a look at that and see what we need.
Sounds great.
Okay. John, there's 3 types of steering systems that I'm going to tell you about. First, we have the rack and pinion system, which is a flat bar with a small tooth gear on there.
Okay.
That runs back and forth, and it's a push-pull system. And then we go from there, we'll go up to the rotary system, which is a small round spiral cable that runs through this large gear, moved by the small gear, which is operated by the...
Just going back and forth.
Right, it's also a push-pull system.
Okay.
And
Now what's the third choice?
third choice is going to be hydraulic.
All right.
Okay.
Now that's what we've taken off the boat. We took off the Teleflex version of hydraulic. What's that called again?
It's called C-Star.
Okay, that's C-Star. What are some other companies that you have?
There's Hynotic
Okay.
that's in there.
So you basically have those two. Price-wise, what are we looking at for, say, the rack and pinion?
Rack and pinion is going to run around 200 to 250.
Okay.
And the rotary system will run you for a complete package that they have out, run you probably around 160.
Okay.
And hydraulic, depending on how it's set up and how many motors you've got on the boat, is going to run between $600 and $700.
Well, we'd probably like to go with what we took off the boat, which is the hydraulic. But when we get back into the other situations, when you're looking at your motor, is there any horsepower involved?
Yeah, on your smaller systems, you want to run maybe a single 200, 225.
Mm-hmm.
Cable system, you can get up, or the rack and pinion, excuse me, you can get up to a little larger horsepower on, or smaller twins.
Okay.
And then hydraulic will cover pretty much everything thereafter.
I've got you. Well, we'd like to look at some of the choices that we have in throttle cables. Can you help us out there?
Sure. Hey, John, these are the different choices we have in cables. We have Morris, we have Teleflex, there's a bunch of little companies besides that.
Now, are they pretty much the same, Larry, or do they have their unique characteristics?
Most of them, as far as the physical aspect of them, will look the same, as long as they're in the same series. Some of them have different features on them. Morris makes one that's called a Supreme cable, which is like a 33C,
Right.
except it's Teflon coated inside. It's more for like dual stations, long runs, and it moves a lot easier than like these standard cables will.
Now, when you're talking about the Teflon, does that help in any of the salt corrosion when you're out on salt water?
A little, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're looking at the control here, Larry, can you put different, could you put OMC or Teleflex or Morse up to your control?
Sure, they have adapter kits to do that, and they'll all interconnect in there. You can even use the larger series that they make out for the heavier motors and gears will go on that same control.
I've got you. When you're looking at the cables, though, Larry, are you looking at a certain like price per foot, or is it a package situation?
No, they're a package system. They'll start out maybe around $18 or $19, and they'll go up from there.
In our particular application today, dollar-wise, what are we looking at?
I would say probably around $26 to $30.
Can you show me some trim tabs?
Sure, I have a display over here, and we'll go take a look at that. John, on the Armstrong bracket that you're putting on, does that extend the running surface of the boat at all?
No, Larry, they angle the bracket up so when you're backing down on a fish, the back of the boat kind of raises to keep your transom dry.
Okay, so I guess we're definitely going to need trim tabs on
Absolutely.
there.
Now,
Okay.
what do you recommend?
Here we have the Instant Trim by Boat Leveler. They're an all stainless tab with stainless hinges. The pump is on the inside of the boat, and the hoses will run through the transom to that pump. And then your your switches will be up on the instrument panel.
Okay. Now, Larry, why would somebody want to go with trim tabs?
There's a couple different reasons. One of them is that they will trim the boat out, get it up on plane quicker. It will give you a smoother ride and also better fuel economy.
Okay, that's real important. Now, what about ballast?
Ballast, we can do that too, because we can move the planes individually.
Okay.
We can move one side down, or we can move the other side up.
Well, that's a real nice feature. Price-wise, what are we looking at for the trim tabs, Larry?
On a set like this here, we're looking at around $350 to $400.
A wise investment. Now, Larry, you've really given us some options today on the re-rigging of our boat. I can't thank you enough for being on the show. We'll see you soon.
All right, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chapman's Corner is brought to you by Chapman School of Seamanship.
Today on Chapman's Corner, we want to talk to you about state registration numbers. As you can see here, this vessel has Florida state registration numbers. The first two letters indicate the state in which it's registered in, followed by a series of numbers, followed by another set of letters. Every vessel in the state of Florida is required to have these state registrations unless your vessel happens to be documented. In the case of this boat, the minimum size of the lettering and the numbers is 3 inches. And it also must contrast the back color of the hull. In this case here, we've got black letters on a white hull, easily seen. These numbers and letters are found on both the port and starboard bow of the vessel. Also notice on the port side here, we have our state decal. This decal is good for 1 year and must be reissued every year in June. From Chapman School of Seamanship, this is Tom Dante.
You know, one of the hottest boats out on the water is the flats boat. I'm with Jake Jacobson of Gold Coast Boats in Lantana, Florida. Jake, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me,
today.
John.
Now, today we're going to take a look at what boat?
We're going to take a look at the 18-foot flats boat, which is made by Pro Sports.
Now, what are some different amenities that come with this boat, Jake?
The different amenities we have, John, on this boat right here is you see the tower in the back above the engine, which is good for flats fishing down the Keys. You could stand on that platform with a long pole and push through the shallow water, stalking your prey very quietly.
So it actually gives you a sight advantage, being up on that poling platform.
Exactly, in shallow, clear water like the Keys for bone fishing, tarpon fishing, and things like that.
Well, you know, one of the cool things about a flats boat, Jake, is the versatility that you have. I know personally a lot of bass fishermen that have switched over to a flats boat.
Right, and that's a good point you brought up. A lot of our customers are buying these boats, are bass fishermen still, but had bass boats and are tired of the maintenance of a bass boat.
Very high maintenance.
Especially using it in salt water.
Sure. You've got the carpet that you've got to deal with. When you're talking about fishing, you're going to be talking about some blood and guts.
Hopefully.
And when you,
Hopefully.
Exactly. And when you're talking about the maintenance, when you could just come back to your house, wash it out with a hose, that's real low maintenance.
Oh, it's fantastic. You get in with a mop, and it's what they call self-bailing. All the water just goes over the side, and in a few minutes you're done with the cleaning of it.
Let's talk about that situation. If you are a bass fisherman, can you have the forward seat?
Yes, and that's why, again, the bass fishermen are going over to this boat, because you can still put a trolling motor up front.
Good feature.
Which is important for bass fishing. You can also put a base there with a pole and a seat, a higher seat, which bass fishermen like. and we can also put one in the back as well. So you can turn it into a bass boat if you want, but you have a boat that you can, more of a crossover boat,
Absolutely.
which you can use in salt water.
Sure.
And in the ocean on a reasonable day.
Reasonable day, you can go out there and catch the big dolphin, the big
Absolutely,
wahoo.
sailfish, whatever you might run into.
Now, the boat is obviously laid out to fish. What kind of rod storage does it have?
Well, we have 2 vertical rod holders on the console, which is mainly for storing. So you have 4 total around the console. Now, inside the boat, there's recessed rod holders that go into the gunnel. So if you put your rods in there, they're out of your way, so when you're walking by, you don't hit it on your leg or anything.
You won't get any hooks in you or anything like that?
Right.
Now, that's good for the fly rods, is that correct?
Right, because the storage starts right there where the seat pretty much is and goes all the way up front to the bow of the boat. So it's long, and you can get a good-sized fly rod in there.
Now, one of the unique features of this boat, Jake, is you have a backrest.
Yes, so that's an option, which I bring in with the boat. Most people that have been purchasing the boats want that.
Right.
That does come out and goes down behind your legs, and you don't want it in the way.
Fantastic.
Okay, but you're coming home from a hard day of fishing, you want to relax a little bit, you can put it up and lay back and enjoy the ride home.
Jake, how is the boat powered?
It's powered with a 115 horsepower Yamaha, which we find to be the perfect power for the boat. Out of the hole, it's very quick. You blink and a boat lays down. It's what you want. That's what you want in shallow water, a boat that planes fast.
Okay.
And we find the 115 to be perfect for it and economical.
Now, what about the guys that do want the more horsepower?
You can go to a 150 on this boat
Okay.
if you'd like to. Most people, and it's up to the customer, obviously, but most people have been going with the 115.
You've got a real unique non-skid.
That's
Talk to us
correct,
about it.
yes. On the alongside, the width of the flats boat is wide on the gunnels, so that the fishermen can walk all the way around this boat.
Okay.
And that's where most of your activity is on the sides of the boat. And if you got a piece of bait stuck or something to your foot, you know, and it's a little slippery.
You're not going to slip and kill yourself.
Right,
That's so
right.
important.
And that's why they put the non-skid. Also on top of the polling platform itself, tower. That's
Nice
important
feature.
as well.
Real nice feature.
Yep.
Now, I know that this boat comes with the galvanized trailer, which is good for the saltwater. And that again, is a real nice feature of the boat. Price-wise, what are we talking about for this?
We're talking boat motor trailer package at $16,000.
Now, where can people come and preview the boat, Jake?
At Gold Coast Boats. We are located in Lantana. If you took 95 to Lantana Road, get off of Lantana Road, head east down to Route 1.
Okay.
Make a left onto Route 1, and we're down approximately a half a mile on the right-hand side.
Okay.
You'll see all the boats out front and the big sign, Gold Coast
Right
Boats.
in southern Palm Beach County.
That's right.
Jake.
Not only do we have the new boats, but we also sell a wide selection of used boats, too.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking time out to be on today's show. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me, John.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. As you can see, fiberglass work is really no big deal.
And be sure to tune in next week when we go ahead and hang the bracket on the boat and rig it out.
Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.
If boating's your game, then you'll agree. Ship shape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, ship shape means trouble-free. Ship shape means being neater. Ship shape makes boat work easier. Ship shape is the way to go. The Ship Shape Boat Care Show.